What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to contact me, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today you are tuned in to another episode of The Rundown, where I give you my thoughts and opinions on a bunch of different projects. We're actually going to jump right into this one, starting with Logic's newest mixtape, Bobby Tarantino 3. Now, like most rappers who retired, Logic could not stay away from the rap game, like people in horror movies cannot stay away from strange noises coming from the woods, the attic, or maybe even in the shed. Earlier this year, he dropped an alter ego project as Dr. Destruction called Planetary Destruction, and now we come to this one right here. So Logic didn't take too much time away from the game, and honestly, this project just feels kind of unnecessary to me. I think his final album, No Pressure, would have been the perfect way to retire, because it was actually some of his best work, but now it feels like we're back to square one, because a lot of these beats, flows, topics, and ideas are just so similar, man. I feel like I've listened to and reviewed so much Logic music over the years that it would take a lot for me to be overly impressed, and I just didn't get a whole lot out of this mixtape. Even at only 33 minutes long, it felt like a slog for me. Now, to be fair, you do get some decent moments like the inspirational track Get Up. This one took me back to the early Logic days, so it was cool. And the boom bap outro Untitled is pretty dope, but most of these tracks feel like half-assed loosies because there's just nothing compelling or memorable about them. I mean, tracks like this are often referred to as throwaways, and the reason for that is because you throw them away. I just feel like a lot of songs on here had Logic going through the motions. There wasn't a whole lot of effort, heart, and soul put into these songs, at least compared to his best work. You do get the song My Way. I think this is the perfect example of one of the worst songs on here. The vocals are just obnoxious, and really I think this is one of the worst songs I've heard all year. But where it does get better is with some of the production, because I think the beat selection on here is pretty dope. I like that bouncy soul on God Might Judge. You get a beautiful piano outro on Call Me, and then with Vaccine, you get a Stranger Things vibe with the production. It has that 80s synth stuff going on, so I did think that was pretty cool. But bar-wise, it is the same old from Logic. A lot of rapidy rap flows with melody thrown in, as well as those tepid inspirational musings and some life stories here and there. But overall, I don't know, man. Maybe Logic is just doing this for fun because hip-hop has been such a big part of his life. I can certainly appreciate that. But I'm going to give it 3 fake retirements out of 10. I don't think this is a great comeback project. I mean, if you retire and you're going to come back, you got to bring that heat to make people excited that you came back. But this just kind of felt like maybe he should have stayed retired. Maybe that's harsh to say. I'm not trying to be a dick here. That's just how I feel, so it is what it is. But the next project isn't much better. In fact, I would say this project might be even worse, and it is Pop Smoke's Faith album. I mean, like most posthumous releases, this one was met with a lot of heavy criticism right out of the gate because of the nonsensical features, poor production choices, and the half-ass songs. This shit feels like it was just thrown together like a bad stir-fry. People just throwing parsnips in there, maybe throwing some stuff that just doesn't belong, like a handful of gummy worms, pieces of chocolate, shit like that, just mixing up the goddamn stir fry, making a damn mess of it. That's what this project felt like. There just aren't a lot of great moments here, man. This has more skips than an episode of Undisputed, and the big name features don't help much at all. You have Pusha T on Tell the Vision with probably the laziest Pusha T verse I heard of all time. That shit was so bad that I was actually shocked. And you got Kanye just being annoying on the outro of that song, so he doesn't add much either. You even get an awkward pop track with Dua Lipa called Demeanor. I don't know if that's how you say her name. I'm not overly familiar. I know who she is. She's a pop star, and this song just doesn't make any sense. It just does not go together well. And it was kind of funny to me because I remember seeing this interview with Pop Smoke where he was saying he was very careful about the people that he worked with. You know, he kept a tight circle, and if he was going to make music with people, it was going to be with people that he fucked with. So if you're a diehard Pop Smoke fan, or if you followed his career along more than I have, I'd be curious to know what your takes are about that. Did you see that interview too? Do you feel the same way? I just thought that was kind of interesting because on this project, it seems like they just threw the shit together, as I said earlier. Now, the worst song on here has got to be Top Shotta. This beat is absolutely terrible. I would say this is one of the worst beats I've ever heard from the Neptunes. And shout out to my guy, Mike Seatown from Dead End Hip Hop, because he said that this beat sounds like it was made on a Casio keyboard, and that is bang on. Really, this is just not a great song in any type of way. You got Pusha T on here once again being underwhelming. I really feel like he mailed his verses in on here. And you have someone named Beam giving some really grating, overproduced vocals to the occasion. I just thought this was not a good Neptunes beat. I feel like the verses did not go together too well, just a mess of a song. But the song Spoiled is much better, because this is another Neptunes production, this time with a smooth groove, and you get a solid Pharrell feature on there. So that track was better than the song Top Shotta. Now, there are a couple of other good moments, like the banger Bout a Million. This has a catchy hook and also a great feature from 21 Savage, who just continues to improve. It's funny when I look back at my old 21 Savage reviews and see that I really didn't like him at all, but now I think he's killing shit, and he's actually one of my favorite artists coming from the South these days. He's been putting out some good verses. You also get 42 Doug on this song, and it's kind of strange because he spits about how his earrings look like boogers, which really is not the flex that I think he thinks it is. I mean, maybe he's saying they're just big and green, but saying anything looks like a booger is not really appealing. That makes you think of when you're at the urinal and it just looks like people are wiping their boogers on the wall or on the handle. Ooh, just nasty people. But anyway, still a good song. But the biggest standout here has got to be Manslaughter. You're getting some glorious chipmunk soul production. Rick Ross hops on this and fits perfectly because of the lavish feel. And that hook from Pop Smoke is so damn catchy that it was stuck in my head immediately. So ultimately, there's not too much to be said here. I mean, this is another bloated posthumous release that seems like it was thrown together for a quick buck. And I give it 2.5. Pop Smoke deserves better than this out of 10. So, we're not off to the greatest start here with the rundown, but things are going to get a little bit better with IDK and his UC For Yourself album. Now, the first thing I notice about this is that he really sounds like Kanye West on some of these songs. I'm dying to know if you guys agree or if you picked up on that. I'm not saying he sounds exactly like him. It's not on every song, but there are certainly instances where you can hear it in his cadence, just the way that he's rapping, his flows, his voice, all of that. You're going to hear this especially on Santa Monica Boulevard. This is a banger that has bass thicker than Carmen Hayes and a title that makes me think of the Sheryl Crow classic. Remember when she was saying all she wants to do is have fun till the sun comes up over Santa Monica Boulevard? Every time I hear Santa Monica Boulevard, that's what I think of, because that's a classic, man. That song slaps. I don't care what anyone says. But one of the main things I did take away from this album, aside from the Kanye thing I just talked about, is that it gets messy, like trying to drink a glass of milk with boxing gloves on, man. You just can't really get a full grip on it. You know what I'm saying? On one hand, I appreciate that there is a bit of variety here, but there's no real common thread to make it flow nicely and feel cohesive, in my opinion, and you get some really weak moments here too. There's a strip club anthem 10 Feet and the 90s dance-inspired Keto, although I do appreciate the beat on Keto because it kind of sounds like Streets of Rage, and everybody loves Streets of Rage. Nobody hates on Streets of Rage unless they're crazy. But of course we got to talk about the song Red with West Side Gun, MF Doom, and Jay Electronica, because this is the one that I think caught people's attention. When you see that lineup, obviously you're kind of intrigued. So West Side Gun's verse is fine. I think he sounds great. IDK sounds like Kanye again. Doom pops up for a couple of seconds, so there's not too much to his appearance, but it was nice to hear from him. RIP to one of the GOATs. And then Jay Electronica, who, I'm sorry, I feel like he's just kind of becoming a little bit overrated. That's probably crazy to say, because I know people that love Jay Electronica love him, but when people say he's like a top 3 MC, I don't know. I'm really not getting that when I listen to his albums and some of his verses. He's still dope. Don't get me wrong. I know how it is these days. If you say something like that, people think you're saying they're trash. I don't know. I'm not really connecting too much with Jay Electronica's music personally. And on this one, it doesn't really help. He's dropping anti-vax bars, rapping about fake news. This song really is just a microcosm of the album's messiness. I feel like all these parts come together and it just doesn't go together too well. You even get an interpolation of the Big Timers' classic song Still Fly thrown in for good measure on this song. So, like there are good moments here and there with the song, but altogether, I just felt like it was all over the place. Curious to know what you guys think about it. But one of the things I do really applaud IDK for is opening up about some really painful memories on here. On 1995, he gets deep about his complicated family life, and on Cry in Church, he's really reflecting on his pain and emotions with help from a gentle backdrop and great vocals from Seven Streeter. You also get another deceased GOAT popping up on here with DMX delivering a prayer, so RIP to him, RIP to Doom. Man, it's been a crazy little while, hasn't it, losing all these legends? And we're losing more. Bismarcky recently. I know I'm missing some other big names. I'm just, kind of going off the top here, but it's just been crazy. So the song that hits the hardest, though, like a dragon punch to the jaw, has got to be Hey Auntie. This is where he opens up about being molested as a child, and I got to applaud him for putting that out there. That's not easy for anyone to deal with. To come out like that might give other people strength just to be open and honest about it, just talking about his feelings. I know he addressed this also in an interview, so shout out to IDK for that. I really do appreciate him opening up. And I think some of these songs I've just talked about, these past 3 songs, really showcase his ability when it comes to songwriting and just getting open and getting honest. So I really like those tracks, and I also like Puerto Rico a lot. This one features Lucky Day. There's great vocals from him and IDK. I just did some accidental bars there. It's just a very silky, smooth singing track that I think is one of the highlights here. So I'm going to go with 6 messy albums out of 10, and I'm not just doing that because he complains about the 6 out of 10 rating on the song Dogs Don't Lie. That's just where I feel on this one. I think it's pretty good. It's definitely worth checking out, but it is all over the place. There's some good stuff happening here. Even the JaVale McGee produced Pradada Bang, I think I'm saying that right, with Young Thug is pretty fun. And when IDK is at his best, I think he's really dope, but I've yet to hear a fully complete project from him where I like it from start to finish. I find I'm picking and choosing a couple songs here and there and skipping the rest. So this is an interesting one. I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. Let me know down below. Up next we have Goldlink with Haram, and if you're like me, you probably didn't hear much about this album, if anything at all, and after listening to it, I understand why this one got less buzz than a wingless bumblebee, because I think this might be Goldlink's worst album. I'm someone who likes Goldlink, I've really liked some of his past projects, but this one was a big letdown to me. And oh, one more thing, before I go on with this album, I also gotta point out how it's kind of strange that he named this album Haram when we had an album by the same name earlier this year coming to us from Armand Hammer, and it was critically acclaimed, so that's a bold move to do that. And Goldlink kind of has a weird history when it comes to, you know, him stealing bars, stealing ideas, or talking about other people taking from him. We've seen it. He had some things that he said about Mac Miller with one of his projects. I remember Smino said that he had taken a bar from him. There are just a couple of times this topic has come up, so take that for what it is. But as for the album itself, his vocals on here are all over the place, like a teenager making out for the first time in a game of 7 minutes in heaven. You know, when you go in that closet and your eyes are closed, you don't really know what you're doing, but you're just trying your best. Maybe not a teenager, maybe you were a bit younger. I think I might have been. But anyway, we're getting a little too personal here. I'm just trying to say the vocals are all over the place. They're also just terrible, man. For a couple of examples, you get heavily distorted vocals and mumbled parts on Extra Clip, incoherent mumbling on parts of 202, and the vocals on Spit on It, they may as well be TV static. Like, there's so many different things going on with his vocal choices here, with the effects that he's using, and it just completely takes me out of a lot of songs. I mean, this is sort of a common theme throughout that makes a lot of tracks unlistenable, in my opinion. I'm really curious to see how you guys feel about it. Maybe other people like that he's doing all these different things, being a bit experimental, but it just felt like it didn't come together too well for me, and it had me skipping a lot of these tracks. I do think there are still a few bright spots, though, and a lot of them have to do with the production and features. Evian is fun because it has this dance UK garage sound going on. Raindrops features a solid Flo Milli feature and some gorgeous guitar production, and the twinkling RPG keys on Girl Pacino are pretty dope. I don't know, they have a really interesting sound to it, and also on Wild and Lethal you're getting some video game vibes too, almost like an Atari type of thing. So there's a lot of interesting stuff with the production. You do get some decent beats, you get some quality features from UK artists throughout, but overall, this just feels like Goldlink kind of taking a step back, in my opinion. I thought At What Cost was a dope album. Diaspora had some good moments, but I'm going to give this one 2. Is Goldlink falling off? Out of 10, man. I don't know. This one is not working for me, but let's see what you guys have to say. I've seen nothing said about this album. I really haven't seen much in the way of reviews or people talking about it, so I don't know what the general consensus is. But the next one, much better, is Evidence with Unlearning Volume 1, and as expected, this is a boom bap, hip-hop head's wet dream, so make sure you change your sheets. This shit is extra dope. You're talking heavy drums, lots of great sample work, Evidence working his usual sneaky flows, and what I'd say is my personal favorite thing about this project is how personal Evidence gets. There are so many great bars on this. This is one of those projects where every time you listen through, you're going to pick up little bits of wisdom, clever lines, all kinds of great lyricism. I appreciate that from him. So, you know, he's showing on this one that even after being in the game for decades, he still loves hip-hop and takes it seriously. On Lost in Time, he handles the triumphant production with ease, with bars like I need peace more than Bentley, Benz, or Beamers, and also I'm a champ with no ring, I'm unsung and don't sing. I thought this was dope because he's just touching on how he appreciates more than the material things in life, and he doesn't really get the full attention maybe that he deserves. And then on Moving Up, he raps about how he's trying to make music that's notable, not just for notoriety. I mean, we see it a lot of the time with some of these new artists coming out, guys like 6ix9ine, they just do anything to get attention. They're not really trying to make something that's deep, thoughtful, you know, maybe something that will last for a long time, be talked about as a classic or whatever. They're just kind of trolling for attention or doing whatever they can. Not all the artists, but you know, a lot of them out there are doing that. This track also has a great verse, by the way, from Conway, and there's some other great hip-hop head features too. You're gonna get Boldy James on the grungy guitar joint, all that said, and Fly Anakin pops up on Delay the Issue. So if you want that boom bap shit, like I said at the start, make sure you check this one out. Do not sleep. The track that hits me the hardest here, though, has got to be Pardon Me. It's a very personal track that starts with an intro from his child, and I was reading on Genius where Evidence actually had annotated some of the bars here, and he talks about how he left that in, as well as some other noises in the background from his child, because he just wanted to show his real life. You know, he's working on music as a dad, chasing his dreams, doing his thing, being a father, and just trying to stay creative. So that's something I definitely appreciate. I'm sure you guys hear my kids getting wild in the back of my reviews once in a while, going down the stairs, throwing the Jack in the Box down the stairs, bouncing up and down on the trampoline. You know how it goes. If you got kids, you know. I just really appreciated that. Just so much good rapping on here, man. And I didn't talk enough about the production, so I will talk about that briefly right now. Better You has a dope-ass, eerie backdrop from The Alchemist. This is a great beat from him. Start the Day with the Beat has a 90s feel with the lumbering drums and bells that switch back and forth with that elegant piano sample. A lot of cool stuff happening there. And Sharks Smell Blood, that sounds like something out of a blaxploitation movie. Just has that feel to it. When you hear that beat, you picture a brother with a big afro sliding over the hood of an old car, guns ablazing, trying to take down the man. That's the vibe that I get when I listen to that song. So yeah, this is another great release from Evidence, and I'm going to give it 8 Underground Legends out of 10. Evidence with another banger. Check that one out. Up next, we have Stalley with Gone Baby Gone, and this is going to be a pretty quick review here because there's not too much to get into, but I just think he's an underrated artist who deserves much more recognition. It's crazy to think that he used to be on MMG with Wale, Rick Ross, and all those guys, and he really didn't get too much of a chance to do a whole lot there in my opinion, but now he's doing much, much better, and I find myself enjoying his music. Whenever I check for his new projects or see a new video of his pop up, I almost always like it because he's really staying in that smooth, driving music lane, you know what I mean? He has an amazing ear for beats, so if you like that laid-back sound, you're gonna like a lot of stuff here. I'm talking those summer drives and late-night vibes. There's Dreamy Eyes. This is a great opener with a slick bass line and great guitar work. Then we get a top-quality Night Rider with Domingue Felipe, and meanwhile, Oranges in June and Oyster Perpetual deliver smoky lounge vibes, so this is an album for the riders and the backsliders. You don't want to miss out on it. I just think Black Diamond's production matches up perfectly with Stally's smooth style, so while he's not the most complicated rapper, he just knows how to make songs that sound good. This is a short project, it's right to the point, there's no features, and it has a solid vibe pretty much all the way through. You're not going to get intricate rhyme schemes here. You're not going to get crazy bars that are going to have you rewinding, but you're going to enjoy this one if you're sitting back smoking, going for a drive at night. You just want that vibey music, and you know there certainly is value in that. I know I often praise heavily lyrical stuff and creative stuff where people are taking chances, but sometimes I just like that smooth shit too, so this is a dope album. You still are going to get some wisdom once in a while. You'll hear this on the song Gone Baby Gone, and then on Smoke Break, you're getting this neo soul vibe where he's kicking back, smoking, playing video games, just keeping it chill. Not a whole lot to get into with the lyrics here. I'm kind of reaching for that, but I just really enjoyed this sonically. I've really been coming back to it a lot. I like it. I'm going to give it 7 underrated Stallies out of 10. I just hope eventually he does kind of get a bit more conceptual, open up his content a bit, but keep that smooth rap style, keep those smooth beats, because I think he deserves more love. So check it out. Stalley is doing his damn thing. Up next, as I scroll down here, you know how we do on the rundown, man. We keep it nice and casual. It is what it is. I got to read my notes, my brain shot. I worked all day. You guys are riding with me. It's all good. So Gil Thompson is up next with When the Music Speaks, and Gil is someone who I've reviewed many times, and one thing I appreciate about him is how he does pay a lot of attention to lyricism, because he knows how to piece his bars together and give you a story or a concept or some thought-provoking ideas. You get a lot of that this time around, as well as some truly great sample-based production, so this is another one that I think the hip-hop heads are really going to enjoy. The soulful title track has him spitting about his journey in the rap game. He's getting quite vivid there. Take It deals with the values of hard work and respect over this epic style production that fits perfectly, and the beauty in it has an incredibly smooth and bassy backdrop, as well as very introspective verses from him and his guests. So he's not someone who's afraid to open up and get honest about his life, his trials, his tribulations, what he's learned as a man, and that's something I always look forward to when I hear his music, because as you listen to his albums, like if you listen in order, you can hear the growth. He's always learning and becoming more wise and knowledgeable. That's really dope from Gil Thompson. Now, the hook vocals on this song, The Beauty in It, were a little bit flat. I wasn't too much into those, and I would say that's a common theme throughout. The vocals aren't overly compelling throughout this, whether it's guests, like on that track with the singing, or with the rapping. I mean, he can clearly write and spit. There's no question about that at all. I think he knows how to piece his bars together, as I've said, but there's just not much to his mic presence or his actual voice that leaves an impression. I think I've said before when I reviewed his music that I want to hear some more layers, some more backup vocals, or add some ad-libs in there, just something to make it a little bit more raw, just really uplift his vocals and make his presence hit harder. So that's one thing I think he could work on, just experimenting with his cadence, layers, some light harmonies and stuff like that. And a perfect example of what I'm talking about comes on Can You Feel It, where in spite of some uplifting production, the vocals are pretty bland throughout. I think he could have added a bit more to that, and at times this whole idea that I'm talking about can make the album feel a bit tedious, but the bars are still there for sure, and the production's pretty dope. One of the album's best performances, though, comes from Triple Three's on My City Needs Me. You're going to hear some vocals just cutting through like Ginsu. You'll be able to hear what I'm talking about on that. It's a standout track, and so is Combination of Things. This one really showcases his ability to come up with a cool concept and write an interesting song, because the idea of this one is how in each verse he discovers a different number that basically has great meaning to him and opens up this combination in his mind. I mean, me talking about it doesn't do it full justice now that I'm listening to myself, but just listen to that song. It's one of the most creative song ideas I've heard. I think he did it really well. It's an easy highlight here. Love that one. And ultimately, I'm going to give this 6 Gil Thompson Staying Consistent out of 10. It's a good album with some quality beats and bars, so it's worth checking out, but I still just want to hear him really take it to the next level, man. Just cut through more with that voice, some ad-libs, some different things just to really grab my attention, because there's so many rappers out there doing interesting things with their voices, because there's so many rappers out there, you know what I mean? There's so many people making music that you have to do something to set yourself apart and make you sound different. So that's just my 2 cents. It is what it is. And we are moving on to the last one. This is another project I haven't seen much talk about, but it is a damn good surprise. I'm talking about Mustafa's When Smoke Rises. He's a singer and poet from Toronto, and he really poured his heart out on this album. I would say that this album right here has some of the best songwriting that I've heard all year. By far. He's really going into a lot of detail here. On this one, he's opening up a lot about the grief, death, and pain that plagues his community and how he wants to do better, but the way he sings about it is just absolutely brilliant. Like on the song Stay Alive in Air Forces, where he warns the youth about the dangers of the streets while also expressing concern for his friends who are still living that life. The song Separate goes even further as he laments about people dying too young, and there are plenty of powerful moments on the song Ali where he pays tribute to a friend who was killed in 2017. He really knows how to dig deep within himself, put his emotion through his pen onto the paper. I know that sounds cheesy, but that's what this man does. I really did appreciate this. I hope more people check it out and talk about it. There's just a lot of loss and suffering with this album, and even him himself is struggling with it. On the song The Hearse, it seems like he's singing about how losing all these friends has him feeling like he wants to get revenge or do something. That's sort of the idea that I took from it, is as if he's stuck between making the good choices and the bad choices. You know, when someone kills your friend or you lose your friend, you want to lash out, but ultimately you know it's not going to help and make things better. That's just what I took from it. I could be completely wrong, but that's the beauty of music. You listen to it and you let me know. This is just one of those projects where you can really feel the pain, man. Not just from the songwriting and topics, but even the production. You're getting a lot of very minimalistic stuff here. I'm talking about a lot of piano and guitar that's just somber and matches with the content. But I do think that's one thing that could be improved. I'd like to hear him, you know, just mix it up a bit more with the production, a bit more variety, maybe try some different styles and sounds just to keep things a bit more fresh. But even still, man, I think he's a great singer. His voice reminds me a little bit of Sampha, and oddly enough, he actually got Sampha out of hiding for the song called Capo. They are both the perfect fit over the twinkling keys on this one. Again, you're getting 2 very emotional performances. I think this is a R&B album that just has a lot of purpose, thought, and depth put into it. So check it out for yourself. I'm going to give this one 7.5 proud Canadians out of 10. I almost went with 8. Just the more I listened to it, the more I wanted a bit more of the production, just to switch things up a bit. But songwriting wise and vocally, really dope shit. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he does next. Hopefully you guys check out all these projects. Let me know down below what you think. Make sure you check past Rundown episodes, because lately I get people asking me, did you review this? Did you review that? When are you going to review this? When are you going to review that? And I've already reviewed those in old episodes of the Rundown. So make sure you go back and check. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, I mean, you should, because it helps the channel, but you can check the info box below where I list all the projects reviewed in each episode. Also have some really great solo reviews up, the new Isaiah Rashad, Vince Staples, Tyler the Creator, lots of stuff going on with the channel. And I got to work on that Nas review. I think the Nas review will probably drop before this, so me talking about it now is weird because it's almost like we're in the future. But anyway, You can let me know what you think about all those projects too if you want to. Go check those out and let me know. That's it. I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for watching, everybody. Make sure you do that good YouTube and social media stuff where you show me love and you show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.